In the aftermath of Charlie Kirk's death, US President Donald Trump has signed an executive order designating Antifa as a domestic terror group. Trump has accused the group of recruiting, training, and radicalizing young Americans to engage in political violence.
At another college, Antifa terrorists shattered windows, threw rocks, and tried to storm the building where Charlie was speaking. It was a really bad one. Often dozens of police officers were needed to prevent left-wing violence. And the violence comes largely from the left.
But this group had nothing to do with Kirk's death. So why is Donald Trump cracking down on Antifa? I'm Ananya Datta. You're watching Grey Zone. Antifa is short for anti-fascist. The word has its origin in the 1930s. To counter the Nazis, a German Communist Party came up with this term. It gradually spread to other parts of the world. It has existed in the US on and off for decades, but came to mainstream dialogue only after Donald Trump's first election victory in 2016. It was around the same time other anti-fascist groups started to come together. Antifa is not a specific group, it's an ideology. Even the former FBI director agrees. It is leaderless, doesn't have a set headquarters, and relies on groups online and offline. It's very hard to put an exact number of members, or who funds it, or what exactly the movement intends to achieve. If fascism supports dictatorship and authoritarian policies, Antifa supports the exact opposite. They refer to Nazi Germany and Mussolini's Italy to show what happens when fascism is ignored. It rejects traditional politics of how voting and petitions can put one's voice forward. It believes strongly in direct action, like protests, counter-rallies, and even doxing. There have been patterns of them revealing personal information of public figures on the right. The most concerning aspect of this is that many people affiliated with this ideology are in favor of using violence to suppress others. They call it self-defense, but past instances show it's much more than that. A group of 18 masked people carrying steel batons and hammers stormed a suburban Chicago family restaurant back in 2012, attacking what they claimed was a meeting of white supremacists. In 2017, a series of rallies and demonstrations descended into violent clashes between Trump supporters and black-clad, mask-wearing Antifa protesters in Berkeley, California throughout the year. Many injuries were reported and arrests were made. Police confiscated weapons including baseball bats, bricks, and metal pipes. Then in August of 2017, far-right protesters organized a protest in Virginia against the removal of a statue of Confederate icon General Robert E. Lee. Antifa protesters arrived as an active counterforce. They carried rifles and formed a secure perimeter around those taking down the statue. While these actions are out of law, targeted assassination is not part of Antifa's playbook, and the group hasn't been accused of being part of Kirk's death in any way.
So far as we think of terrorism as being about like Al-Qaeda blowing up buildings and killing people, the greatest form of violence that self-described Antifa in the US have engaged in is basically fistfights. So to me, it seems like a rather transparent effort by Trump and his allies to demonize the left writ large under the rubric of a term that has generated a kind of negative publicity in the mainstream eye.
US President Donald Trump's battle with Antifa is an old one, but the fatal shooting of conservative influencer Charlie Kirk has given relevance to the conversation. Trump and his administration has been quick to blame the quote-unquote radical left for the attack.
It's a terrible thing. Because you can't let that happen. You can't let that happen. Can't let it happen to a country. The Department of Justice is also investigating networks of radical left maniacs who fund, organize, fuel, and perpetrate political violence. And we think we know who many of them are.
Now that Trump has designated Antifa as a domestic terrorist organization, it is unclear what it would look like on the ground. The designation matters in part because it enables the Justice Department to prosecute those who support the entities on this list. The bigger hurdle comes from a logistical standpoint. As we said earlier, Antifa is not a singular group. So who decides what is Antifa and what is not? And this is where the most concerning aspect takes birth. The ambiguity has left many on the right resort to putting all leftist voices in one basket and calling it Antifa. The president himself did it while talking about Kirk's shooter.
It looks like he was radicalized over the internet, and it's radicalized on the left. He's a left. I have a lot of problems with the left, and they get protected, and they shouldn't be protected.
This kind of narrative isn't limited to the faceless mob. It also extends to crucial voices in American politics. In the last few days, Brendan Carr has become the face of this campaign. Carr is the chairperson of the Federal Communications Commission, the United States broadcast media watchdog. His commission regulates everything from radio, TV, and satellite airwaves, which gives him a lot of wide range of power. The latest decision was to put ABC's late night show with Jimmy Kimmel on ice. It has been restored since due to the backlash, but Carr was in a position to put pressure on ABC and tank a legacy show for Kimmel's satirical piece on Kirk's death. Soon after, Trump said all TV networks were against him and they should be taken down.
And then 97% against. They give me only bandwidth or breast. I mean, they're getting a license. I would think maybe their license should be taken away. That it will be up to Brendan Carr. I think Brendan Carr is outstanding. He's a patriot. He loves our country, and he's a tough guy.
Trump is actively silencing those who he deems does not agree with his policies. Congress has cut funding for NPR and PBS. Others are facing threats to have their federal licenses pulled. Letters have been sent to big tech companies including Apple and Google demanding information on how they rank news stories. Vice President J.D. Vance has endorsed a mass doxing effort to find anyone who speaks against Kirk.
Playbook of authoritarianism is pretty clear that authoritarian governments expand the range of their repression when they can label a circumstance a crisis or an emergency and label a specific group beyond the pale of acceptable politics. And so the label of Antifa in the context of other alleged emergencies around immigration, around tariffs, around drugs, and so forth, labeling Antifa as a terrorist organization could conceivably allow the administration to target anyone on the left, anyone who dissents, anyone who protests.
Trump and his allies once claimed to be victims of the quote-unquote woke media, shouting that their freedom of speech was being crushed by left-wing bias. But now their response to Charlie Kirk's killing has crossed into something much darker, a campaign that looks less like protection and more like censorship. And this is where the story slips into the gray zone. By putting every strand of the American left into the Antifa basket, Trump has created a weapon that can be swung at anyone, an activist, a journalist, a student, even a comedian. After all, you who is watching this is not a millionaire TV host with 400 celebrity backers. So who saves you? I'm Ananya Datta. You've been watching Gray Zone.